Manchester United have just signed a 15-year-old centre-back. But is this a youth signing, or is it a calculated move that could reshape the club's defensive future under Rúben Amorim? Here's why Manchester United made a move for Harley Emsden-James.
Rúben Amorim, bring the glory days again. We're working for the strength within. It's in the rest around.
First off, it's part of the youth strategic recruitment, to be quite honest with you. And a lot of this has been driven by Jason Wilcox. And we know, I suppose, the emphasis he puts on youth coming through the academy. It's a long-term rebuild, it's got to be said, with Manchester United. And we know the issues that United have, and how poor we've been in the transfer market. We haven't recruited quite well. The one thing, I suppose, that you can hang your hat on over the last 10 to 15 years is United continue to produce players through the academy. Now, it is clearly not at the same level that the likes of Jason Wilcox, maybe even up as far as Jim Ratcliffe, would like. And I think it's quite clear over some of the signings that we've made that Wilcox wants ball-playing defenders. He wants elite ball-playing defenders. And going out and getting players like Emsden-James at such an early age, who is, very, very sought after and highly rated, not just in the UK, but across Europe, is a really, really good move. And we've seen it, of course, before, getting in the likes of Aiden Heaven, for example. You can go back even before Wilcox, when you're getting the likes of Garnacho, is a big example, who we got from Atletico Madrid for really small money. And it does bolster up the academy. And these are seen as academy players that come through. And if you're talking about FFP, all of these are benefits, in relation to, figures of finance and all that kind of stuff. But the long-term rebuild with Manchester United under Jason Wilcox is going to require a bit of patience. It really is, because if you're going out and getting these young players, these are absolutely for the future. They really are. And if we continue to sign good players like Aiden Heaven, Cheeto Obi Martin, now Emsden-James, and there are a number of more, even Diego Leon, for example, who's probably, ready to, maybe not ready to go into the first team, but a lot closer. When you're going out and getting 15-year-olds, it really, really does put a stake in the ground and saying, we're here for the long term and we're going to get the future right. Second of all, he suits Amram's philosophy. He really does. Amram emphasises having defenders who are press resistant, who are good on the ball and who can step out into midfield. And Emsden-James really does have some of these qualities from what I've been, and again, look, I'm not going to lie, I've never heard of the kid until yesterday, but doing my research on him last night and this morning, these are some of the traits that he absolutely does have. And some of the small clips that I've seen of him, of course being at underage level, he does seem to have an awful lot of these attributes. And, going out and signing players like this, not only does it maybe, I suppose, lend to the argument that United finally have a plan in place around the type of players and the type of team they want to have going forward, but it also lends to the support of Rúben Amorim and the backing that potentially he does have from the hierarchy at Manchester United when we're going out and signing players that are very much suited to his way of playing and his style of football. I know Emsden-James is only 15 years of age, and you're probably talking minimum of 4 years before he ever even gets a look in on the first team. But when you're going out and putting these plans in place, it does lend to the fact that it looks like Manchester United are back in the style of football that Rúben Amorim wants to play, and that is very, very encouraging. Now, we mentioned a little bit previously that we beat off competition for him also. And again, this is something that we're seeing Manchester United do quite well, it's got to be said, especially with the underage players that are coming through. Cheeto Obi, for example, Aiden Heaven. Manchester United have had competition for an awful lot of young players, and he could step it up a little bit as well with the likes of Diego Leon and even Lenny Yoro, for example, who Manchester United are beating off competition for. And I think a lot of this has to be down to maybe the idea and the plan that has been maybe sold to these young players by Jason Wilcox, by Omar Barada, by Vivel, whoever it is that's going to be negotiating and trying to get these players in. They seem to be doing a good job of it. We are recruiting quite well, especially with underage younger players for the future. And, when you're beating off competition from the likes of Chelsea, for example, for Emsden-James, Chelsea is probably an easier move for him. It's not as far away in terms of Southampton. Southampton, he's going from obviously the south of England right up to Manchester. And, it is a big move. But obviously the academy and what's been sold to these young players is working, and it's paying off because we're getting them in and we're beating off a lot of competition for him. So whatever Jason Wilcox is doing behind the scenes to get these young players in, it certainly is working. And finally, he fits the tactical system. If he is ever to get to the first team under Rúben Amorim, it is a case where in a back three, Emsden-James is looking like being the left centre back of a back three, or depending on how he develops, could very easily be that centre of a back three. It all comes down to, how he fills out over the next few years. But if you're talking about 18, 19, 20 years of age in 3, 4, 5 years time, and hopefully Rúben Amorim is still there, and hopefully we're a lot more successful than we were last season. This guy is the type of player that can fit into his system and fit his tactical structure absolutely perfectly. It's got to be said. It's an exciting signing by Manchester United. And if we're talking about maybe the development plan for this young kid, I think he goes in, he starts obviously straight away in the under-16s. He's probably likely to feature in the under-18s as well in the Premier League Cup before maybe the season, but certainly this season, if not before the year end. Look, he's going to be monitored very closely by Wilcox, by Amram, by the assistants. Are you potentially going to get him in maybe pre-season next year? I think it's probably a little bit early. He'd only be 16, maybe the year after. I think the one thing there is that he's got older players now where if he is ever brought in to maybe train with the first team, there's the option of a mentorship plan there where he can be, paired up with an older centre-back, whether it be even an Aidan Heaven, a Lenny Yoro, even a Alessandro Martinez, where he can learn, he can develop, and he can be shown opportunities. He's available to sign a full scholarship in 2026 as well. And he'll be eligible then for pro at 17. So that's obviously going to be the projected timeline plan for him as well. But look, like I said, guys, United going out and getting these players and somebody like him, I think it absolutely does future-proof the squad, the plans that we've got. I think Wilcox is doing a very good job behind the scenes in getting some of these younger players in. And if all comes to all, these players that we're signing for very small money, if they do develop to be halfway decent players but maybe not good enough for Manchester United, you're still going to get a decent transfer fee for them being moved on. We've seen Manchester City do that an awful lot over the past few years, where academy players who actually haven't played for the first team are going for 15 to 20 million because of the potential that they've got. So it is good future-proofing by Manchester United. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. Are you happy with this bit of business? And in general, the youth policy that Manchester United are, undertaking now with getting these young players in. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please hit the like button if you can. It helps the channel out an awful lot. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you on the next one.